I was really nervous about meeting new people because like high school, you know, the same like whatever, like 300 graduating class that you've been with, maybe even since elementary school. So you have this kind of regimen and it's like a set schedule that everyone has. Whereas in university, like for the first time, you like maybe only have 2 days of classes back to back. So you can really be a lot more flexible with your scheduling that way.
For me, it was, I was really worried about getting lost. I'm not very good with directions. I would like come to school an hour early because I was like scouting out all the classrooms and tutorial rooms I had for the day.
I used to do that.
Yeah, just making sure like I don't show up late because I didn't want to like put a bad impression on my TAs or my professors.
I think it depends on your personality. From my personal experience, when I came into Beedie, I wasn't looking to make friends because I wanted to actually transfer out within the first year. So I didn't join any clubs. Even in class, I would just go to class and then like basically go home and study. But that all like kind of changed when I did get involved, and that's like I think when I found like my friend group and when I started making more friends and I just got to know the Beedie community better. So I think it's not difficult, it's just you have to put yourself in like the right situations and then you make friends. And like everybody at Beedie is pretty friendly.
I think Beedie is like what you make of it. So if you choose to just go to classes and treat it as more of a commuter school, then yeah, you probably won't make very many friends on campus. But at least if you know you're pursuing some clubs or going to networking events, I think there's tons of opportunities to get to know people from different walks of life.
Yeah, I think everyone who's there, especially those who are involved, they're all looking for like to make new connections and friends. So it's just really about like putting yourself out there and then getting out of your comfort zone. I feel like that's the biggest part. For me, I think when I first joined university, I got involved with clubs and associations right away just because I knew that's where like a lot of my friends would come from and my connections. So for me, it was attending a Isaac conference where that's where I made friends from other schools, like other universities, and I just felt like I was part of like a bigger community. I think coming from high school, I was so enclosed to like my friend group, and then all of a sudden, you know, I have friends in like Calgary and I have friends in like Ontario. So I think that was a neat experience for me.
My favorite memory would have to be when I actually joined Enactus, because that's when I like started making friends in university. Like I came in, like I wanted to switch out, and then it was like, okay, like join this club, like see how it goes. And then I think that's what like really solidified why I wanted to stay in Beedie, because I had all these friends now. And like another great thing was it wasn't like hierarchical, like because like Cody was a president, right? And it wasn't like, oh, he's like at the top, I can't talk to him. It was more like, oh, he's like just another student, I can talk to him if I need help. He'll like go out of his way to like help me like with just like normal school stuff. It's not even just Enactus that he'll help with. So it's just like my favorite memory is like being in Enactus and being like within that community.
Something that I find a lot of first years don't take into consideration when they're doing course scheduling is the exams, like where they fall. Like SFU, we're really lucky to get our exam dates in advance, like for finals at least. So that way you have a better idea of like when you're gonna be overloading yourself. But I know that at some schools, you don't find out your exam schedule until like midway through the semester, which I think is really tough.
I came into university knowing like exactly what I wanted to get out of it. I thought like I knew everything. I was like, okay, get a finance, come out and like go into capital markets, and then 4 years and I'm out. And then it wasn't until like I realized I started joining things that I didn't anticipate to, that I opened my horizon and saw new opportunities out there. So I think I would tell myself to keep like my options open and have a open mindset going into university and not being afraid to try new things, because I think that's how you learn what's out there, and then that might cause you to pivot and change a career path or something.
I think mine is let go of the idea of finishing school within 4 years. I think that it shifted in me at the end of first year when I did get involved, and I was like, oh, like I value like having more of a balance within my university career. So it's not just taking 4 courses every single semester and not doing anything in school, but it's like having that balance of like taking maybe 3 or 2 courses and then being involved and seeing my friends more often. So I learned my lesson.
For a business degree, it's not complete if you're only like taking courses. I think you need a connection base when you go out, and you really need the experience just to be competitive out there. And like I said, like the connections is really important, especially once you graduate as well. I think it's not. I think the school does give you a lot of opportunities to get involved and stay fit. Like they have programs where you can drop in and play basketball. They have intramurals, and even like a lot of the like associations and clubs I take part in, we do like outdoor activities. We go bowling sometimes. So I definitely don't feel like it's a neglected part, and there's lots of opportunities to stay fit. Yeah.
Yeah, I think you kind of have to make it a priority a little bit, like schedule some time in your schedule to make it work for you. Obviously, like not everyone has time to go to the gym on a weekly or bi-weekly basis, but just taking that time for yourself, like, like a yoga class with some friends, or, like you mentioned, we have the rock climbing wall at SFU too. So there's definitely like more fun ways to work out rather than just like running around the track. Mm-hmm. For me, like I've always had a part-time job, like ever since grade 11. So for me, it was like a natural like transition into university. I already knew that I had to kind of set aside some time. And I've been really fortunate that my manager has always been really flexible with scheduling. So I've been really lucky that way, but I know that that isn't always the case. So being upfront with like whoever you're working for, that like, hey, you might need some time set aside for exams or when assignments are coming up. But I think it's that transparency with your boss as well that will play a huge role in that.
Yeah, I had a part-time job in high school, and then I was lucky enough that I worked for my parents, so I kind of just took time off for like the first 2 years, and then I didn't get another part-time job till basically fourth year. And then one thing that I did notice is when I did get it is because I had such little time left over for like extracurriculars or whatever, homework and whatnot, I use my time more productively. And this is actually something that I've noticed with a lot of my friends is when you have a busier schedule, you use the free time that you have very like well. So if you have that hour to like sit around and watch Netflix, you probably won't use that for Netflix. You'll use it to study or like get ahead on an assignment. So I think it makes me more productive when I have a part-time job. I think definitely, like, it depends on who your friends are, like usually people are very respectful, like if you're not into like the drinking culture, and then if like you do go out, like you can just be like, oh, like no, I don't drink, and like people will be like, okay, it's fine, like you can still have fun without being intoxicated. I definitely think it's pretty common. It also depends on like how active they are in general, but for first year, it's just kind of like figuring out your life. So it takes a while to get used to everything, like trying to fit in like going to the gym and like eating healthy when you're always on campus, and like trying to figure out how to study and like also manage everything else. So it can be a bit much.
Totally.
I felt like I was always moving around. I think, especially on SFU, you have to walk very far distances. So I got my physical exercise in. Yeah, one thing I pay a really close attention to is just like people's eye bags start like picking up. Like midterm comes around, you're just like, been sleeping? Sometimes when you're just walking around campus, there are a lot of booths or just things happening around you. Like sometimes I come to class and I see like a Nintendo tournament happening in WMC Atrium, and sometimes I'm just tempted to like walk by, check it out, see how they're doing. I think there's a lot of small things going on that you sometimes don't hear of, but it's always good to just drop by and see what's going on, and perhaps like you can go participate in it as well.
Yeah, I think like SFU does a really good job of providing a lot of resources on campus that you might not be familiar with. Like there's like the Out on Campus and the Women's Center, and then we actually have like a clinic on campus that I didn't know about until like just recently. So those kind of resources that you kind of forget about as a student, and like of course in addition to like the regular facilities like the gym and the aquatic center. I think Beedie's pretty unique in that like we're competitive, but we're like really each other's cheerleaders at the same time. Like when I've been to conferences at other schools, like you can see that competitive nature really come out. But with Beedie, it's more that support network, and we're all like striving to push each other to do better.
Like referring to like co-ops. So I think for our co-op program, it's very equal. Everyone is on an equal playing field. Whereas some schools on the East Coast, they're ranked on a ranking scale, so like you have to be like the best academically, and if you're the best academically, you get first served to like all the good jobs and all the big four companies, whereas at Beedie it's like you all like apply at the same time. There's no ranking system, so it's a lot more like fair, I would say.
I mean, for me, I live 7 minutes from campus, so for me it's a very short commute, but I know that like for people like Jonathan, that's not exactly the case. But I think, again, it's like what you make out of the university experience. Like if you choose to just head home after class, then like that's your prerogative, but you're kind of missing out on all the opportunities that we have going on. Like there's so many events happening all the time.
Yeah, I commute to school. I don't take transit, I just drive. It's only like a 30-minute drive from where I live, so it's not horrible, but if I'm on campus, I like to make my stay there worthwhile. So if I have class in the morning, it's like, okay, I'll go to class. And then after that, it's like, okay, grab lunch with someone that is on campus. Like there's always someone in the Beedie lounge just like hanging around. And they're always free to like grab a coffee or grab a bite to eat. And then after that, it's usually like, oh, you have like a student organization meeting, or you have another type of meeting where there's like, you can go visit like academic advising or like co-op office. So there's like a lot you can make out of like just being on campus. So I don't think it's just like a commuter school. Like there's so much to do. If I'm like looking back at my high school self versus like me right now, I would say like they're not exactly like two different people, but there's a lot of like positive change that has come out of me. And like I said before, I'm more flexible and adaptable, but I'm also like more self-aware, and like I'm able to read people better. So it's like I've not only like improved myself, but I'm also improving like the relationships I have with people. So I'm like able to pick up on like when my friends aren't feeling that well, it's just like something it's like a skill that I've developed, and I can like reach out to them. And when they're not as comfortable reaching out to me, it's like I'm there. And it's, yeah, life does get better. It's just, you grow and you get more driven and ambitious, and just you change your goals, and like it's all about like what you make of it.
Yeah. I think one thing like coming out of high school is like you begin adulting, and I think in university that's a big part of like learning about that. And it's just a trade-off for that, the freedom you get from being an adult, is the responsibilities that you have to start thinking of, like paying your bills and like doing your laundry and like cooking. It's just something you never really cross your mind that you think would actually require you to think about. But then, yeah, I think that's one of the biggest part. If you can balance those responsibilities, I think adulting is fun.
I think for me, like, I was almost scared about university because I had such a great experience in high school that I was worried that I had almost like peaked. But like, if high school me were to see everything that like I've had the opportunity to pursue and have the advantages of like taking on, like that honestly is not a worry at all. And I think I can speak for a majority of my friends in saying that university really is like that growing experience. Like it really does only get better.